Okay, very short lecture today. We're looking at the abdominal wall, a little bit of the genital region. So abdominal wall, mostly looking at the ab muscles. This group of muscles is going to connect your rib cage and your vertebral column to the pelvic girdle. So diagram will look at how that works. There is a band of tough connective tissue, linea alba, which basically means line white. It's a white line that runs down the center. And it extends from the xiphoid process on your sternum to the symphysis pubis in your hip region. And it serves an attachment for all of these abdominal wall muscles. So the four muscles, and you need to know all four of these: external obliques, internal obliques, transverse abdominis, and rectus abdominis. On your connect site, on that cadaver site, it kind of shows them in layers. So make sure that you do look at that site to see how they're layered a little bit differently. Very thin layers of muscle, and fat can accumulate in between those muscle layers, which is a reason why belly fat is very common. So linea alba, here's the xiphoid process all the way down, white line, band of connective tissue. Rectus abdominis run up and down, so therefore when they contract, they're going to flex, they're going to pull your trunk down. So when you start thinking that way, if it's pulling this way, the insertion needs to be up here. The origin is the immovable part, so it's going to pull that part down. So rectus abdominis runs up and down. External obliques are called external because they are the very outside layer. It's cut here. Here I can see the whole layer on the outside. Obliques run sideways, so they're going to cause a twisting motion. So external obliques outside. Internal obliques is the next layer inside. Also run diagonally, but they kind of run the opposite direction. So external runs this way, internal runs a little bit more up and down. And then transverse abdominis, inside, very innermost layer of the abdominal muscles. And they pretty much run transversely or straight across. So very much a straight side-to-side motion. So those four muscles definitely on the need-to-know list. So here's the table for review. You can see the origin, insertion, what it does. So here, if I look, notice the origin is the pubic area down at the bottom. The insertion is at the top because that's where it pulls down and it flexes the vertebral column. Pelvic floor, I want to introduce you to these. Probably won't have these so much on the diagram part. Biology, we talk quite a bit about the reproductive units, so here I don't spend quite as much time. I think more of these probably specifically like with childbirth. A lot of these muscles come into play. So the deeper pelvic diaphragm forms the floor or the bottom of the pelvic cavity. The superficial urogenital diaphragm fills the space inside of the pubic arch. And then the pelvic diaphragm muscles include your levitator ani, which levitates or lifts the anus. Your urogenital diaphragm includes superficial perineum, bulbospongiosis, and ischiocavernosus. Larger terms, these are present in males and females both. Obviously they function a little bit differently. So here we have male and female. Here, looking kind of downwards, you can just kind of see this obviously is a female, as we have the urethra, the vagina, and the rectum. So during labor, a child is going to pass through that vaginal opening. You can see why it puts pressure on other areas. Pregnant women typically tend to have to go to the bathroom a lot, may have bowel irregularities one way or another, sometimes because that baby compresses things. Also, sometimes when a baby is born, actually most times, that vaginal opening is not quite big enough, and the doctor will have to make an incision to make it a little bit larger. It is not uncommon that when they're cutting here, they may cut a little bit into those anal muscles as well. And then they stitch them up, and that's, I don't know, that is your baby bearing lesson for today. So if I look at these, if I look at male and female, a little bit different, but not a lot. There's a lot of similarities that you can see. So levitator ani is going to basically, it's going to be surrounding the anal area on both sides. Gluteus maximus, the large butt muscle, is right in that area. The other ones, the ischiocavernosus, notice the same shape for both. There is just, a male is going to have a penis, so the ischiocavernosus is actually going to be larger in a male. And in a female, it basically just covers or surrounds the vaginal opening. And then bulbospongiosis, kind of the same. It's found right here on a male and right here on the female. And here, table, like I said, I want to introduce you to these. However, I won't have any of these on the test. So as far as study purposes, you can look over it, but not an intense study. And I believe that's where we're stopped for today. And next time we'll get to the legs.